All right, let's talk about a tool that's quietly running the show behind so many of your favorite apps, Jenkins. Now, if you're in tech, you've heard the name thrown around a ton, but what is it really doing, and why is it so important? Well, we're about to break it all down. You know that feeling, right? You open an app, and poof, there's a cool new feature just working. No big announcement, no downtime. Or maybe a bug that was driving you crazy yesterday is just gone today. That's not magic. That smooth, super fast delivery happens for a reason. And a lot of the time, that reason is an automation engine like Jenkins working tirelessly behind the scenes. You know, to really get why Jenkins is such a game changer, we kind of have to travel back in time to the dark ages of what I call manual mayhem. Just picture it. A developer finishes writing some code, and then this crazy, stressful relay race starts. Somebody has to manually copy the files over. Then another person has to run all the tests by hand. And finally, someone has to hold their breath, cross their fingers, and push the code to the live servers, just praying that nothing breaks. It was slow, it was nerve-wracking, and honestly, it was a recipe for disaster. And this really shows you the night and day difference. The old way, it wasn't just slow, it was so incredibly prone to human error. I mean, one little typo could bring down the entire system. Every single deployment was this high-stakes gamble that could cost a company a ton of time, money, and maybe worst of all, their users' trust. Jenkins just flips the script completely. It turns this risky, manual process into a reliable, repeatable science. It makes everything fast, automated, and safe. So, the solution to all that manual mayhem is automation. And in the world of software development, Jenkins is pretty much the undisputed champion. You can think of it like a tireless director of a digital factory, making absolutely sure every single piece of code moves down the assembly line perfectly. Okay, so let's get a really clear definition on the table. At its very core, Jenkins is an open source automation server. Its whole job is to take over those repetitive, manual tasks that developers used to hate doing. Things like compiling the code, running a whole suite of tests to catch bugs early, and then pushing the finished product out the door. It automates that entire software delivery pipeline from start to finish. So, what's the secret sauce here? Well, first off, it's open source. That means it's free to use and it's backed by this massive global community of developers who are constantly improving it. Second, it's written in Java, which basically means it can run on almost any computer anywhere. But its real superpower? It's the plugins. There are literally thousands of them, which means you can connect Jenkins to just about any other tool you can possibly imagine. It's the ultimate flexible automation hub. Okay, so we know what Jenkins is and why it's so necessary. Now let's get to the fun part, seeing how it all actually works. This is where the magic of what we call continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD for short, really comes to life. The goal here is actually really simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You want to create a totally seamless, automated path that takes the developer's raw code and turns it into a working application out there in the world, without a single human having to touch it in between. It's like a digital assembly line for software. So here's how that assembly line flows. It all kicks off the moment a developer saves their code to a place like GitHub. That one action triggers something called a webhook, which is basically just an automatic notification that pings Jenkins and says, hey, we've got new code over here. Jenkins immediately springs into action. It grabs that code, builds the application, and runs a whole battery of automated tests. If everything passes with flying colors, Jenkins then automatically deploys the new version. The coolest part? This whole thing can happen in just a matter of minutes. Now, that automated workflow is seriously impressive. But you might be wondering, how does Jenkins manage to do all of this work, especially for huge teams with hundreds of developers all pushing code constantly? Well, the answer is in its really clever architecture. This is where the brilliant master agent model comes in. You can think of the Jenkins master as the brain of the whole operation. It organizes everything, it schedules all the jobs, it runs the user interface. But it doesn't actually do the heavy lifting itself. Instead, it delegates all the real work, the building and the testing, out to multiple agents. These agents are the hands, and they can be any kind of machine, Windows, Linux, even lightweight virtual environments called Docker containers. This setup is what allows Jenkins to scale up and handle a massive amount of work all at the same time. So we've got the workflow and we have the engine to run it. But how do we actually tell that engine what to do? How do we define this entire complex, multi-step process? That brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle.
And this is the most elegant part. The secret to defining all of this automation isn't some complicated visual tool or proprietary format. It's just a simple text file called a Jenkins file. This one file lives right alongside the application's code and acts as the literal blueprint for the entire pipeline. It tells Jenkins exactly what to do, step by step. And because it's just a text file, the whole team can edit it, review it, and track changes to it, just like any other piece of code.
And that brings us right back to where we started. By automating this entire process from code to cloud, Jenkins completely solves that manual mayhem problem. It lets development teams release new features and fix bugs way faster, with far fewer errors, and with a whole lot more confidence. In short, it helps them deliver software quickly, safely, and consistently. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a final thought. By automating all the repetitive, mechanical parts of building software, tools like Jenkins don't just make things faster. They actually free up human developers to focus on what humans do best: solving really complex problems, designing elegant new solutions, and dreaming up the next big thing. So if a machine can handle the assembly line, what amazing new frontiers can human creativity go on to explore next?